Greetings everyone. Today, we're going to discuss a question that you might have also wondered about, especially if you're familiar with Jainism. The question is, why are root vegetables like potatoes, onions and carrots prohibited in Jainism? Everyone understands why we shouldn't eat meat, fish or eggs. But why are there restrictions even among vegetables? Is eating a potato or a carrot really that sinful? Jains are often teased about this potato and onion issue. But we can confidently say that after knowing the reason behind all this, you will all feel proud of Jainism, how Lord Mahavir subtly preached non-violence and took care of us, took care of our soul. Stay with us until the end of this video, as we will try to understand this serious topic in depth through 10 chapters. During this, we will also touch upon the deeper aspects of life, death, and non-violence. So, let's begin. And if you're new to our channel, please subscribe and like the video. Chapter 1. How many types of living beings are there? Before we know the answer to this, we need to know a few other things. To understand the types of living beings, we need to know the number of their senses and their functions. There are countless types of living beings in this world. These beings are found in various shapes, colors, and forms. Some beings live in water, some on land, and some fly in the air. Some of these beings have only one sense, which are called immobile beings. These beings only have the sense of touch, like plants and trees. They perceive their surroundings through touch and react accordingly. Some beings have two senses, like earthworms, which can experience touch and taste. Some have three senses, like ants, which can experience touch, taste, and smell. Some have four senses like flies, which can experience touch, taste, smell, and sight. And some have five senses, like us humans. We can experience touch, taste, smell, sight, and hearing. Beings with 2 to 5 senses are called tras. Through these senses, we understand the world around us and act accordingly. In Jainism, when a Digambar monk or nun takes vows, they follow complete non-violence. This means they do not harm even one-sensed organisms, so their life is called sinless, meaning they take very little food, with ninefold devotion, once a day from the pure food that householders have prepared for themselves and their families, and thus practice their sinless discipline. In this same Jainism, those who do not take vows are called householders. They do not take a vow of complete non-violence, but householders strive to minimize violence and live their lives with minimal harm. Chapter 2. Harming and eating any living being, whether it has 5 senses or 1, is sinful, isn't it? But in Jainism, wisdom is paramount. Wisdom teaches us that if committing a smaller sin can prevent a bigger sin, then committing the smaller sin is also appropriate. It's common sense, it's wisdom. Now we will understand this with 2 practical examples. Situation A. When we are forced to obtain food by harming living beings and we have to choose between quality and quantity, harming quantity while saving quality will result in less sin. Situation B. When we are forced to obtain food by harming living beings, and we have beings of the same quality but in different quantities, then saving the larger quantity is the righteous path. Meaning, if we absolutely have to harm one of the 2 groups and there is no other choice, then saving the larger quantity instead of the smaller quantity is the right thing to do. Maybe this point isn't clear yet, so we'll understand it with a live example. Situation A. Quality versus quantity. It's Republic Day. The president is giving a speech. Thousands of people are present. Suddenly, a terrorist attacks with an AK-47, hiding amongst some citizens. The security personnel's first duty is to protect the president, even if it means risking the lives of ordinary people while killing the terrorists hidden among the public. Even if a few citizens die to save the president, the security personnel will save the president, not those 5 or 10 citizens. The president is a quality being, the president of the country. Situation B. Quantity versus quantity. A bus driver is driving a bus on a bridge when suddenly 2 people come in the middle of the road. The bus is at speed. Even if he applies the brakes, there is a high chance that the bus will fall into the ditch. If he saves those 2 people from dying, the lives of 70 to 80 citizens sitting on the bus could be lost. Here, both groups are of the same quality. They are citizens. Now, here the driver will use his wisdom and close his eyes. He will save 70 to 80 lives, but will not be able to save those two people. Between a higher quantity and a lower quantity, he could only save one, so he saved the higher quantity. This is what we call wisdom. Chapter 3. The 24 Tirthankaras of Jainism have explained this principle in the religion. Killing and eating a 5-sensed being incurs the sin of killing just one life, but killing and eating millions of 1-sensed beings, even though it incurs the sin of killing millions of 1-sensed beings, killing a 5-sensed being is a greater sin. Situation A. A 5-sensed being is of higher quality. Compared to it, thousands or millions of 1-sensed beings are of higher quantity but lower quality. For example, a person kills and eats an elephant and says, "I have killed only one being." On the other hand, another person eats many vegetables, which involves the harming of thousands of 1-sensed organisms. In this situation, the person who killed and ate the elephant will incur more sin because they did not use wisdom. Chapter 4. Consumption of infinite beings. Now let's move towards situation B. Consuming an infinite-bodied being, which houses infinite organisms, results in the slaughter of a very large number of beings, harming them, which incurs great sin. Bottle gourd, ridge gourd, tomatoes, peas, wheat, etc. contain fewer organisms, so consuming them incurs less sin. Here, potatoes, onions, and other root vegetables are all 1-sensed beings, and cucumber, bottle gourd, tomatoes, etc. are also 1-sensed beings, meaning both are beings of the same quality, but the quantity is different. Then our wisdom will tell us, if we can manage with harming fewer beings, why harm more beings? Chapter 5. The difference in quantity. Now the question may arise, both are 1-sensed beings, right? So the number of beings living in both will also be the same, meaning the number of beings in a cucumber will be the same or slightly more in the juice of a potato. So will there be much of a difference in quantity? That's a very good question. Let's find out the answer to this question. Look, if there was a difference of 2 to 5,000 organisms, maybe we wouldn't be explaining it to you in such detail. But you will be surprised to know that Tirthankara Dev, having seen it in his omniscience, has told us that potatoes, onions, carrots, etc. are infinite-bodied entities, meaning they contain infinite organisms. Chapter 6. How many is infinite beings? Infinite beings means so many that we cannot count them. Let's try to understand this. If a needle is inserted and removed from a potato, and the amount of potato stuck to the tip of that needle, just in that tiny amount of potato, if the organisms present there were given the form of sesame seeds, then those sesame seeds would fill billions of Earths, the Earth that we know. Even more organisms than that are present in just the amount of potato stuck to the tip of the needle. Now think, how many sesame seeds would fit on this Earth? How many sesame seeds can we fill this Earth with? Then think, how many sesame seeds can we fill billions of Earths with? Even more organisms than that are present in just the amount of potato stuck on the tip of a needle. It really makes your hair stand on end, doesn't it, hearing all this? Therefore, Lord Mahavir has prohibited the consumption of infinite-bodied beings. Chapter 7. Harming of beings. Now the question is, just for the taste of the tongue, or for one's own stubbornness, is it right or wrong to take on the sin of harming so many beings? Can we be so selfish and cruel that we don't care about the lives of others? From now on, if anyone asks you why you Jains don't eat root vegetables like potatoes and onions, you can share this video with them. Those who make fun will keep making fun. For years, people made fun of Jain monks and householders when they said there are organisms in water. When scientists discovered it, the ground slipped from under people's feet. Chapter 8. List of root vegetables. Everyone might have a question. What are root vegetables? So that we can all avoid eating them. Potatoes, onions, garlic, ginger, carrots, radishes, sweet potatoes, these are all root vegetables. Apart from these, there are many other vegetables that grow underground. Chapter 9. Peanuts and turmeric. Peanuts also come from under the ground, so how are they allowed? And Jain householders use turmeric and dried ginger, so how is that allowed? See, for your information, peanuts have a high oil content, so they don't contain as many organisms as other root vegetables, so they are allowed. As for ginger or turmeric or raw ginger is not allowed. Dried turmeric and dried ginger are allowed. After drying, they fall under the category of woody plants. When crushed, their fibers come out, and both these ingredients are allowed to us as medicine. Now, someone might say, can't we eat potatoes after drying them too? So let me tell you, they are not allowed. Because firstly, potatoes don't dry like turmeric and ginger, they rot. Also, potatoes do not have any medicinal properties. On the contrary, they are harmful, and potatoes are eaten only for taste. Along with this, radish leaves and spring onion leaves grow above the ground. So can we eat them? Many Jain brothers and sisters might have this question. So, for your information, they are also not allowed because they are a part of the same plant. Chapter 10. Birth in Attachment. This is a major principle of Jainism, meaning there is a high probability of being reborn in that to which one is strongly attached. For example, if someone consumes potatoes due to attachment to the sense of taste, then their next birth could be as a potato. Therefore, Jain scriptures prohibit the consumption of infinite-bodied beings, meaning all the items mentioned in Chapter 8. So our question was, why are root vegetables, vegetables that grow underground, prohibited in Jainism? The principle of non-violence is very important in Jainism. Eating root vegetables kills many small organisms that live in and under the ground. Therefore, followers of Jainism do not consume these vegetables. This is not just a dietary rule, but a way of embracing non-violence in every aspect of their lives. This is the path of non-violence, where we care not only for ourselves, but for every living being. This principle of non-violence teaches us not to harm any being with our actions. Whether it's the smallest insect or the largest animal, every life is important. Jainism believes that every being has a soul, and it is our duty to respect every soul. It is important to understand that the purpose of Jainism is not to cause suffering to anyone, but to have compassion and love for every being. Followers of Jainism prioritize compassion and love in their lives. They have a sense of kindness and empathy not only towards humans, but towards all living beings. This path of compassion and love teaches us how to maintain peace and balance in our lives. This message of Jainism reminds us that we can achieve true peace and contentment only by walking on the path of non-violence, compassion, and love. Now, if someone says, "I will not accept this," then nothing can be done about it. A person is free to think for themselves. Humans have a strong attachment to the prohibited root vegetables. You must have seen people who can't live without potatoes or onions because they don't feel like eating. To save us from such downfall, this rule is established in Jainism. Now, if someone says, "I have many Jain friends who eat potatoes," then look, someone's eating or not eating doesn't change the principles of Jainism. The principles of Jainism are unchanging. Whether someone follows them or not, it doesn't alter the principles of Jainism. So friends, through this video, we have tried to understand the reasons behind the prohibition of potatoes and onions in Jainism. I hope you found this information useful and that it has increased your knowledge. If you liked our team's effort, please share this video with at least one of your Jain friends. Thank you, and stay connected with us to discuss more interesting topics like this. May the Jain faith prosper. Jinagam Panth Jevant Ho.